Good evening, everyone. Welcome tonight. Welcome to our live session. Whoa, welcome. You can drop your name as usual if you're ready for us tonight. Drop your name in the comment box. Welcome. Let me see you. Who is there? Let me see you tonight. Who is there? Drop your name in the comment box if you are in the channel tonight, ready for Google page. Welcome, everyone. Welcome. We're about to get started. Welcome. Let me see you. Who is in the room tonight? Who is in the room? Who is in the room? Drop your name in the comment box. Let me see you. Let me see you guys. Who is there? Hello, guys. Anybody here? Anybody here? Anybody here already? I want you to drop your name in the comment box quickly before we get started. All right, Gift is here. And Tola is here. Awesome, 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 awesome. Awesome. Okay, Kelvin is here. Nuruddin is here. Awesome. Welcome, guys. Welcome, guys. We are here for a good time tonight. We are here for a good time tonight. We are designing the Google landing page together. All right. Welcome. Let's just give about, let's say, 2 minutes for others to join. Drop your name in the comments if you are here right tonight. If you are ready for us tonight, drop your name in the comment box. All right, Kende, I can see you. Collins, I can see you. Welcome, Isaac. I can see you guys. We are ready to go live. Kende, welcome. Yes, hello, everyone. Kelvin, I see you. Nuruddin, I see you. Welcome, welcome, welcome. We're about to design together. How many of you have practiced? How many of you even attempted to do this on your own, right? A fantastic lady yesterday attempted this, and I think she did a lot of good job, right? Ineka tried her best to come up with something interesting yesterday, and I was really impressed with what she came up with. You know, like I always say, right? You learn coding by actually coding. You don't learn coding by watching videos. You learn coding by writing the codes, right? So if you want to learn how to code, you must write the code. You pick up your laptops and write the code. It's as simple as that. So I will encourage you, if we give you an assignment to do, you should ensure that you try your hands up on it. Even if you don't get it right, don't beat yourself down. Just try your hands and do this. Okay, Isaac says that he also did ease and then push to the repo. Awesome, awesome. I will check that out after this stream tonight. I'm going to check that out. So I want you guys to try it out. Tomorrow we're going to be doing Instagram landing page together. I'm going to be designing the Instagram landing page together tomorrow. But the assignment will be that for those who are going to watch this tonight, you have to go back and do this Google landing page before 9 p.m. tomorrow. So you're going to watch me do it, and then you're going to go back and practice on your own, right? So tomorrow by this time, you should have designed your own Google landing page. It's very important. It's very important that you practice on your own. So tomorrow we're going to be moving straight to the Instagram landing page. And, so Colin says he tried it. He had to push to the repo. Awesome, awesome stuff. Awesome. You learn coding by coding, yo. You don't learn coding by watching, yo. So let's get started quickly because we don't have time. We have a long way to go. Let's just get started. The others will join us quickly. I think the latecomers will join us. All right, so let's get started. So we're going to be designing together the Google landing page. And from what you can see on the screen, it's pretty straightforward, right? It's pretty straightforward in the sense that when you want to design anything, when you're given a design, because by the time you start working in a firm, the software life cycle goes this way. So we have the business analyst who is going to analyze the software requirements. Probably is the one that will interact with the client and get to know exactly what the client has in mind, right? So the BA or the business analyst is going to come up with what we call the software requirement specification document, SRS, right? It's going to come up with that document, and from that document, that is where the high-level scope, the low-level scope, the functional requirements, the non-functional requirements, all of the technical details will be documented, right? That document forms the basis of exactly what should be delivered to the client at the end of the day. So that document is going to be taken and then given to a product owner or a project manager who is going to come up with the user stories, right? So it's going to come up with the user stories. And the user story is just, how do I explain user stories now? It's simply let me see if I can find a simple definition online that explains user story. But really, a user story is just simply a document that tells you who are the actors of a platform and what exactly are the actions that they can perform on that platform, right? So let me see. So look at it. They say user stories are short, simple description of a feature told from the perspective of the user, right? User story are simply actions. You're telling the story of how the platform works, from the perspective of the user, right? That's what user stories are. So where I'm going is that from the user story, that is where the UI UX designer, so when the project manager or the product owner comes up with these user stories, right? And then that user story is given to a UI UX designer who then come up with a high level fidelity or a low level fidelity, depending on what he wants to do. He comes up with a UI UX design. Let me show you an example of, let me see if I can show an example of a UI UX design for you. So because you need to know, because I remember when I teach in classes and I tell people that you need to know how to, you need to know your CSS and HTML very well. People like, I want to be a backend developer. Oh, I want to be a front-end developer. And you see some of these developers, opting out for teams. So they would rather take a team from Team Forest or from, from Code Canyon or from anywhere they buy their teams. And then that's what they do. But there are some clients that will give you their own UI UX. As a matter of fact, the really high-paying clients will give you UI UX. So you can't just go to Team Forest and just pull one team there and start manipulating it and start saying that is the design. No. So imagine this is a client. Let me give you an example of a client work. So this is a UI UX design, right? And it's simply something that you need to design from scratch. You cannot get a team from Team Forest that already looks like this. So if you are not good with your UI UX design already, then you are in for a long thing, because you need to know how to, write practically all the CSS code that you need to come up that can give you this kind of design. Do you understand? So what I'm saying is learning how to use CSS properly is very important. You can't run away from it. You can't shy away from it. You can't say, oh, I will get a team, or I'm a backend developer. No, you can't do that. Else you will not be a tech warrior. The goal of this whole training is that we want you to become a tech warrior. A tech warrior is simply a self-sufficient developer. He's a full stack developer. If you throw him to mobile, he's there. You throw him to web, he's there. You throw him to backend, he's there. You give him front end, he's there. You give him DevOps, he's there. You even ask him to test, he has an idea. So what we're saying is that you're going to have breadth. So you need to have depth, and then you need to have breadth. When I mean depth, I mean you need to know a lot about all the different areas that exist in the software development world. So you need to have depth in, say, for example, backend. For example, you have to be solid in backend, say Node or Python or PHP, whatever backend language that you want to know. You need to specialize in that and know it very well. That's depth. But you also need to have breadth. Breadth is that you know a bit about front end. If they throw you to front end, you are not going to shy away. You're not going to run away. You're not going to be a novice. If they give you that host this site on DigitalOcean or AWS or Microsoft Azure, you're not going to say, sorry, I'm a backend engineer. I don't do DevOps. Come on now. So that is not a tech warrior. We want you to be, these 300 Spartans, right? Every man in that league of 300 Spartans is holding a key position. And that is the mindset we have at IT Skills, that every team player, every member of our team can easily play the role of another team member. So you are not a liability. You are not playing one role that can easily be replaced by someone else. So you understand that. So anyway, let me go back to what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that you can't shy away from your UI, UX, CSS mastery. You have to know it. You have to know it. So what are we doing today? We are designing our Google landing page, which is simply this page we are looking at here. So when you want to design any page that you are given, maybe by a designer, by a UX designer or a UI designer, any one of them, the first thing you want to outline is that where are the boxes? You remember yesterday we looked at what's it called now? We looked at divs, right? And I told you that divs are simply boxes. Divs are containers, right? That is housing your page. So every time you get a page or a design, there is always an invisible box surrounding everything. So you have to be able to picture the page in terms of boxes and containers. So look at this page, for example. Let me see if I can take a screenshot briefly. Let me take a screenshot, and then I want to just do some annotation on this page. All right, so beautiful. So we can see this now. So if you look at this, I think I can write. Can I write? Can I write? Yeah, I can. I should be able to write. Let me a second. All right, beautiful. So if you look at this, around the whole of this thing is an invisible box. So this is the first box right here. So there is a container that surrounds everything, right? So there is this container that surrounds everything. That is the first box. Then inside that first box is the very first row up here. So I'm going to draw the first row like this. The very first row is here. Hold on a second. Let me go back to this guy. Okay, so there is an invisible box also here. That is the first row, like this, that houses this whole thing here. Then there is a second row here. Here. If you have questions, you can drop this. So you have this. There is a second box here, right? And inside this second row, we have three boxes. We have a box here surrounding this, right? We have another box here. We have another box here. Then we have another box surrounding these guys. Pardon my drawing, right? My drawing is not so accurate, but I believe you get the idea of what I'm trying to describe, right? I believe you get the idea of what I'm trying to describe. So you have to picture boxes on the screen, picture boxes, because that's the idea behind every design. There are always boxes. As a matter of fact, when a UI UX designer is designing on Figma or Sketch or Adobe SD, what they come up with first is what we call the high fidelity design or high fidelity layout. So they're just going to draw lines everywhere, black and white lines, right? Let me see if I can get an example of that. High fidelity design, right? So it's just very, very high level design, right? That they come up with. So if you see this now, let me see if I can show you something about that. All right, look at this. Awesome. Look at this. This is an example of high level fidelity design. Can you see this, everybody? Can you see this? This is an example of high fidelity design. So it's just a bunch of lines and boxes. That is where every design starts from. Bunch of line and boxes. So everything is actually made up of what? Boxes. Everything is made up of boxes. That is how designs are done. So when you are conceptualizing where to start from, in terms of designing anything, you need to imagine it in boxes. So let's start coding. So the first thing I want to do, I've downloaded my assets. So this image here is an asset, or this image here, the Google logo itself is an image and it's an asset. So I've downloaded that. I have this avatar right here, top right. Is also another asset that I will need. Then I think I have one logo somewhere. I need this logo for Carbon, right? I need this logo for Carbon down here. And I think that is all I need to work. So I have icons here. This is an icon, or I think an image. I can download this as an image. Then I have an icon here for search, right? So let's start coding. So the first thing we want to do, like I drew for you in the boxes earlier on, is that everything starts with a main container that's housing everything. So everything you see on your screen right now is actually inside one giant big container. So let's start with that. So I'm going to start now. Let me switch over to my screen. So I'm going to create a new file. I'm going to create a new file. And in that my new file, let me make it full screen so that you can see, and I will amplify my page. So I'm going to start with a new file, and inside that new file is my HTML structure. So I'm going to design my HTML structure quickly. Right? So I have my HTML structure. I have my head. Right? I have my body. Right? I will press Ctrl S to save, and then I'm going to save in a location that I can launch, on my browser. So I'm going to look for a preferable location that I can launch on my browser. You can save anywhere on your system, right? You can save on your desktop. In your own case, you can save on your desktop. You can save in your htdocs, anywhere you want to save, so that you can launch it in your browser. So I'm going to save somewhere inside one of my folders that I use for play here. So I have a play, I have a foundation, and then I can save that. I'm going to call it google.html, right? Google.html, and I'll save, right? So we have our page saved now. And this is the basic starting point, the basic template for any HTML page, right? You have the HTML start and close, the head tag. I'm going to explain what you do with this head pretty soon. But you have the body right here, and inside the body tag, that's where you write all your code. So the first thing I usually do is that when I see a design like this, the first thing I usually do is to just lay out everything on the screen that I can see, right? I can see some text here, Gmail, images. You can open this page on your system if it's not so clear, right? You can open this page on your system. So I have Gmail, I have images, I have an icon here for Google Apps, right? I have my avatar top right. I have an image here. So let's just start, the coding. So I'm going to start from the main container that is housing everything. So right here, I'm going to give it an ID. I'm going to call it the wrapper. Wrapper in the sense that is the giant, div that is housing everything. That is the giant container housing everything. So that is the very first box that everything will be inside. The next thing I want to do is to design this first row at the top. The first row at the top has Gmail, images, an icon, and my avatar. So I'm going to start with that div, and then I'm going to give it an ID. I'm going to call it first row, or maybe we call it header, right? I'm going to call it my header. In that header, I have three things there: Gmail, images, icon, avatar, right? Anytime I have a list of items following each other like this, either horizontally or vertically. Say, for example, look at this Hausa, Igbo, Yoruba, Nigerian Pidgin. Also, there are a list of items. This privacy times and settings is also a list of items, bottom right. Then these guys on the left, they are also what? A list of items, right? So anytime you have a list of items following each other, I always prefer to use ULLIs, because ULLIs allows you to list items. So I'm going to start with that. So in my header, I'm going to write UL and then my LIs, right? I have Gmail. I have images. Then I'm going to go to the next one. The next list is, I think I have an icon here, right? So if I need this kind of icon, there are several ways you can do it. You can grab this as an image. You can also look for it as an icon. So if I go to Font Awesome, I'm not sure Font Awesome even has this icon, but let's just try. Let's try if they have it. So there is, for those who are new to this, right? So there are icons in some of your apps. So for example, this page that we are trying to design has an icon here, and then this search is also another icon. I think those are the two icons we have. So there are several icons on the internet that you can use. You can use ant design, you can use simple icons, you can use material icons, you can use font awesome icons. There are different icons you can use. So let's just try to see font awesome. We have this kind of icon, right? And then, so how do you use all these icons in your code? You can include them. You have to include them, right? Let me bump up my screen so that you can see a bit clearer. All right, I think it's a bit clearer now, right? So you can include the link to the icon in your code. And how do you do that? Like, for example, I want to include font awesome icons in my code. So I've Googled font awesome icon CDN. CDN is Content Delivery Network. It's like an external third-party guide that allows you to just, they are keeping a copy of all the libraries, or let me call them files, in their repository, so you can link to them directly. So I'm going to copy this font awesome URL here. I'm going to copy it. I've clicked on the copy icon. I will share this URL with you later for those that want to practice, but because you need to practice this design on your own later. So I'm going to share the link with you. So I've copied the link, right? I've clicked to copy. Then I'm going to go to my code, and then right within my head, within the head tag, I'm going to paste it right there. I'm going to paste it right there. So I've pasted the link to the font awesome. You can see it here, font awesome 6.00 beta 2, right? After pasting it, I can quickly test that out by doing I class. Let me just test with FA user and see if that works. If we get an icon, then this is foundation. Let me see. My page is google.html. So this is my page here, ready to launch. I'm going to click on it, and then you can see it's working. Let me bump up my screen a bit so that you can see. Yeah, I think it's clearer now, right? Yeah, so you have three items on the screen: Gmail, images, and the icon I just included, right? If you can look at my code, I have Gmail, images, and the icon I just included. But I was testing the font awesome. That's why I just used FA user to be sure that the inclusion I did here at the top is working fine. So now that I know that my icon is ready to go, I can look for the right icon and change this name here. So I'm going to go quickly to Font Awesome website and look for the right icon. So I'm going to go to Font Awesome icons and see if I can find something that makes sense, that is close to that, or that is exactly that. So this is Font Awesome icon website. Let me see if I can increase the size again. All right, so this is their site, and they have all these awesome icons. So let me see if I can find something similar to what Google used there. Let's just look through. Let's look through together. Okay, I can't find anything that looks like that yet. All right, let me see if anything close is there. Okay, let me just pick one for the sake of time. I'm going to use this home, right? This home icon, I'm going to use it in place of, because I can't really find the Google icon. I can't find that icon. So I'm going to use home in place of this icon here. And I can also grab this as an image if I want to. I can grab this as an image and use as an image, but I think I prefer it as an icon. So let me just put a home icon there. So I'm going to go back to my code and then change it to home. Right now that I've changed it to home, let's refresh our page and see what we have. So you can see the home icon right here, right? So the last thing we want to have on our page is the avatar. And then what I've done is that I've downloaded the assets. You can see here, my google.html file is here. And then I have a folder called images. I have an images folder right here. You can see if I open the images folder, I have my avatar, I have the Google logo, I have the microphone in that design, this particular microphone here. And then I have the logo for Carbon right down here. The Carbon neutral since 2007. So I have the logo. So those are the 3 or 4 assets I'm going to be using in my project. So let me link this image right here. And the asset is named avatar.jpeg. I don't know if you can see it clearly. It's named avatar.jpeg. So that is the name I'm going to use in my code. So I'm going to go to the next line, include image tag, src, right? And then I'm going to link to images folder and then avatar.jpeg. That is the name of the file. If you are not following, please don't hesitate to drop a comment in the box saying I'm lost or I'm not following or something is off or I can't, just let me know so I can explain anywhere that is not clear. The goal of these classes is not just to come online and just waste 1 hour or 2 hours, is to learn this thing so that this is not something we'll have to teach again at the boot camp. So we want to speed up on the basics so that we don't do basics at the boot camp. The boot camp is for advanced stuff. So please, if you are not following, if you are not getting it, kindly indicate in the comment box. All right, let's move ahead. So you can see this. So I have 4 list items, right? The Gmail, the images, the home icon, and the avatar. So let me save this. I'm going to switch over and I'm going to refresh my page. And then I have this. So we have the 4 elements that makes up the very first header on the top right here. We have the 4 elements. So how do we make it, go horizontal? How do we make it to be arranged horizontally like this? How do we give this guy a perfect cycle, and all of that? That is the work of what? CSS. That is the work of CSS. So we're going to introduce CSS now to style this page to ensure that it stays horizontal like this and then it's looking this way. So the first thing you have to notice is that there is this huge space. There is this huge space to the left of the very first row. So we're going to introduce that space by aligning every content in the first row to the right. So let me show you how to do that. So another thing I like to do is that when I'm working and I'm designing, I love my inspect very well because in real time, it allows me to see what's going on. Instead of working in my code, saving and refreshing, I prefer just to do my adjustment right, on the screen. And at real time, I can see what the design is looking like. And when I'm satisfied with what I'm seeing, I can copy my CSS code over to my code. So let me show you how I do that. So I'm going to right click and inspect on the browser directly. I'm going to right click and inspect on the browser, but I'm going to minimize this. I'm going to just put it at the bottom of the screen. All right, so you can see this now. So I have my inspect elements guy down here, and on the right, I can easily write my CSS code at real time, right? I can write CSS on the right. I can see the code on the screen on the left. So what I want to do first is that, we also need to have a search icon image. So we're going to use, I think Font Awesome should have search. Yeah, Font Awesome should have search. I think that one should not be scarce. So if I come here and do search, all right, so you can see that Font Awesome already has a search. So we can use this as search for Font Awesome. So we won't use that as an image. So going back to what I was saying earlier, right? So if you come here, all I need to do to make this thing, to appear horizontal is to change the list style type, So I'm going to tell these guys my UL, and I'm going to click on this plus sign here. So look at this plus sign here. This is very important. I want you to pay attention to this. So within my inspect, within my console, this is Google Debugger tool. Within this inspector element here, I can easily trigger any class or any selector. When I click this plus sign, see what happens. It just triggered a UL and it gave me the curly braces for CSS to start styling it in real time. So I'm going to click inside, right? After clicking inside, I'm going to write list style type, list, right? Style, and then type is none. When I do list style type is none, see what happened? All the, what's it called now? All those bullet points behind the 4 items just disappeared. Why? Because I've changed the list style type to none. Let me toggle this button so that you can see what happens. When I toggle it off, you see the buttons, the bullet points came back. When I toggle it on, you see that bullet buttons are gone. So that means I need this CSS. I can copy it. I'm going to highlight it and copy it, right? I'm copying that. I'm going to go to my code, go to the, at the top of my page, inside the head tag. I'm going to come here inside the head tag, open my style tag, right? I'm going to paste my CSS code that I've just used within my browser there. So that's the first CSS code that we need to achieve something. So the next thing is I want to make this thing to appear horizontal. So what I'm going to do is that if you notice something critically, when I click on the LIs, you see that blue bar that goes from left to right. That tells you the width or the space that that particular item is occupying on the screen, right? So if you see each of those items are occupying the entire width of the screen, which is not what we want. We want them to stay side by side horizontally. So how do we achieve that? You are going to have to tell by default, if you look to your left, you will see something here that says that LIs have a display of list item. But what we want is that we want the display to be inline block, because when we make display inline block, everybody will occupy only the space that their content occupies and not the entire screen. Let me show you that. So I'm going to click on this plus sign again to trigger the LI, the selector LI. Then I'm going to click inside between the curly braces, and I'm going to write display in front of display inline block. And you see what happens immediately. Once I turn the display to inline block, all 4 LIs now occupy only to the maximum of their content. So they're no longer occupying the entire width of the screen. That is the power of inline block. So I'm going to copy this CSS again. I'm going to switch to my code, and I'm going to paste it here. So we are moving forward gradually. I'm going to copy this here. All right, so that's the second thing we have done. So the next thing we want to do is to align the entire content here to the right. We want to push everything, because if you notice what we're designing, everything is on the right. Everything is on the right. Everything is on the right. So we're going to push everything from the left to the right. Someone is asking, can your CSS style card come before your image link? Can your CSS style card come before your image link? I'm trying to understand that question. Can your CSS style card come before your image link? I'm not sure I understand what you are asking, Chooks. Maybe you can rephrase it, but let me move on because of time. So I'm going to push everything here to the right. So how do I achieve that? If you can notice something here, this same UL or even the text, the header, right? The header right here, the div that has my ID header, is occupying the screen from left to right. So I can use that, I can leverage that to align my content to the right. So see what I'm going to do? I'm going to click on the plus sign again to trigger that selector header, which is an ID. I'm going to click inside it, and I'm going to do test align right. And then you see what happens. Everything goes to the right. Everything goes to the right instantly. So we've achieved that now. I'm going to copy again. I'm going to switch to my code, and I'm going to paste right there. So are we following? So that's how we move everything to the right. The next thing we want to do is to kind of space it out a little. So if you notice what we have here, there is this small space in between, the items. There is small space. And then I love this circle around the avatar. So let's do the circle around the avatar, then we space everything out. And then we'll be done with the top header. So I'm going to go back to my page. Then I'm going to right click on this image. I'm going to click inspect again so that you can jump to it within the debugger tool right here. Why I'm right clicking on that particular element is that I want it to identify it for me in my debugger tool by itself. So you can see the image right here. So what I'm going to do again is that I'm going to click the plus sign. By clicking the plus sign, I've triggered the image element. But one thing I don't want to do, let me explain for those who are new to CSS now. Like I explained yesterday, when you style the H1, right? When you style the H1, what you are doing is that every H1 in your code will respond to that style. And I now told you that if you want to style a subset of a particular tag, say for example, let's say 2 H1s out of all the H1s you have on your screen, then you can introduce a class, right? Another thing I did not mention yesterday is that if you want to style something specifically, for example, this image is inside an LI that is inside a UL that is inside an ID header, right? So you can actually, it's more like you are calling, if I say Chooks Mocha, for example, if I say Chooks Mocha, then Chooks, if I say Chooks, every Chooks in the room will answer me when I say Chooks, right? But when I specifically now mention Chooks Mocha, that means that I have kind of attached the father's name to the first name, and that means that the surname narrows the name down to a specific person. That is the same principle that applies in CSS. So when you want to narrow down your styling to a specific element on the page, you can call that element by its father's name. So to say, you can call that element by his father's name, or his great grandfather's name, or his great great grandfather's name. So when I want to talk to this image, for example, instead of just styling all the images, because if anything I write here now is going to affect all my IMG tags in my code, I don't want that to happen. So I'm going to click in here and I'm going to specify that what I want only the image in my header to be affected, only the image in my header. Now, by adding this hash header space img, I'm only styling the image inside the header. Correct. So I'm going to write border radius. Border radius is the CSS style you use in adding radius or border radius to a particular element. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to say 25% or 50% actually to make it perfect circle. So you can see that. So border radius has just transformed that image into a perfect circle. Is that clear? So I'm going to copy this now. Switch to my code, and I'm going to paste it. That's how I like to work, so that I can see it in real time. I don't have to be guessing within my code and be, refreshing and seeing what is happening. So now the next thing we want to do is to align this thing to the center of the image itself. Another thing I want to do for the image is to reduce the size. So I'm going to give it a width of like 100 px, which is big. I'm just going to reduce it to about the size that we want. So I think it's about this size, 20 px. Something about this size. Yes. So that is it. So I'm going to copy this width, switch to my code, and I'm going to paste it right below, that border radius. So we are moving forward. The next thing we want to do is to style these Gmail images, the icon, and space all of them out. So how do you space stuff out? How do you space it out? We learned yesterday that the way to create space around the content and its border, or around the content and its container, is by introducing something we call padding. How many of you remember that? Padding. I mentioned padding yesterday, and I was explaining that padding is how you introduce space around the content. So now we want to introduce space around this Gmail, around these images, around this home icon and everything. So how do we do that? I'm going to click on my LI. We already have something going on for the LI, right? I'm just going to click below that guy and add padding, right? And then the padding style, the padding value I'm going to give is that, let me explain something here. When I apply the first number for padding, that first number is standing and representing the top and bottom padding. When I introduce the second number, it's standing for the left and right padding. Let me say that again. When I'm using the padding property in CSS, and I give two values to that padding, the first value I give to the padding is actually going to affect the top padding and the bottom padding. And then the next number I assign to the padding is going to affect the left padding and the right padding, right? If I only give it, if I gave this guy only one value, if I gave padding only one number, the number we apply to all the four sides at the same time. Is that clear? So I'm going to leave it at that. There are two more ways you can do this, but I will not mention that because of the new bit, so that you not get confused. So the two things you should remember is that for padding, you can give it one number. If it sees one number, it will apply that number across board, all across the four sizes. If you give it two numbers, it will translate it to be that the first number is for the top and bottom, and the second number is for the left and right. So you can see that as I increase this number, you can see that left and right wise is adding more spaces. Is that clear? You can see it. As I'm increasing the number, it's increasing it. So that's what we want to do. So we just want it to be around, say, 10. 10 is perfect, right? 10 is perfect. So I'm going to highlight this style, switch to my code, and then I'm going to paste it right here. All right, so we're making progress. The next thing we want to do is that I want to align this header all together. I want to align it vertically to the middle. To the middle, yes. That's one thing I want to do. And then the next thing I want to do is to also shift these guys, the LIs. I want to shift them a bit from the bottom. So what I'm going to do is that I'm just going to add padding bottom. And I'm going to move it from the bottom up a bit. Sorry for that. Yes. So we have that now. So the next thing we want to do is the logo itself, the Google logo. Can you remember that? That's the next thing we can see. So let me quickly switch. That's what I will see. So we have the top guy here, the Gmail, the images. Okay, you can see this underline. When you mouse over, there is this underline effect. It's because it's a link. The Gmail, the images, they are all links. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to transform my own also into a link. So I'm going to come to the Gmail and introduce an ahref just to make that links, right? So I'm going to put a link there. I'm going to also introduce a link to the images, right? And then now the two of them are now images. They are now links. When I save that and I come back to my code and I refresh, I should get, what happened to my, oh, it's like I pasted that. Oh, I pasted this in the wrong place. I pasted this in the wrong place. Pardon me. It's supposed to be in the LI and not the UL. That's why it's not affecting it. So I'm going to refresh again, and then we should get our space back. So you can see the underline, right? But the underline effect is not permanent. The underline effect is when you mouse over, right? That brings us to another CSS style. So when you mouse over like this, you get the underline effect. So how do you do that? So what you can do is that there is something called so what I'm going to do first is to remove the one that is static here. So I'm going to right click on the ULLIs and I'm going to remove the underline for the A, because by default in HTML, when the browser sees a link, it's going to add an underline. So what I'm going to do is quickly tell my A's, the A in my header, by adding the header in front. I'm going to tell you that the test, what was that thing called again? Test decoration, I believe. Test decoration is none. Okay, good. So you can see that it's gone now. So the underline is gone. So I'm just going to add that to my code. Then the next thing we want to do is that we want the underline to now be applied when you mouse over. So I'm going to copy this same code, paste it again, and then I'll introduce something we call a pseudo style, right? So when I put a colon here and I do over, what I'm saying is that when I mouse over the A, it should introduce the underline, right? So let's see that I've saved that. I'm going to refresh. So that means by default, it will not be there. But when I mouse over, you can see that. Beautiful. Beautiful. You can see that. That's how you achieve that over effect. It's a pseudo class, right? And it's called colon over. You can even do stuff for focus. When the element is in focus, you can do it for when is what's the other one again? I've forgotten the other ones now. When it's active, when it's in focus, when you mouse over. All right, those are some of the pseudo elements for your HTML tags. So we are getting close. So what's the next thing we want to do? The next thing we want to do is to include the giant logo right here. So I'm going to just quickly spy on what the design looks like. So the logo is right above this huge box for the search box, right? So let's quickly come up with that. So I'm going to go back to my code, and then so we're done with the main header. I'm going to introduce the next box. I told you that you should think about it in boxes. So I'm going to introduce the next box, and I will call it the content or the body or whatever you want to call it, or the second row. So you can call it anything you want to call it, but let's just call it the content for now. I'm going to call it the content, and inside the content, what we have inside the content is what? We have the image for the Google logo. We have an input box that has a search icon on the left, a microphone by voice, search by voice on the right. Then we have two buttons, and then we have all these items, and that is what makes up the content in the middle. The rest is footer. So I'm going to call this gray area the footer. So the content in the middle, we're going to just quickly, write all those contents. So I'm going to introduce the first guy, which is the logo, right? And then in there is the image for the logo, right? And then I'm going to say it's inside, where is that again? Let me quickly check for that. The logo is inside my images, and it's inside google.png. So I will call it google.png, right? That is it. So that is the first one. Then the next thing is this massive input box. So I'm going to just come here and put this right here. And then we have the first guy, which is this search icon. And don't forget that I told you that there is a search icon available from Font Awesome. So I will use that. I will use that search icon. That is FAFA search, right? And then after that is an input box, you know. And then after that is what? Is this microphone, which I already got as an image right here. So let me just rename it so that I can easily, I will call it mic, right, .png, or is it PNG now? I think so. Yeah, so this one, I will call this one carbon.png too. So I'm going to use this as mic and then carbon, right? So image source, right? And then it's inside my images folder is mic.png. So let's check out this that we have done so far. I'll switch to my code. I'll refresh this. And then I get, you can see what we have. Though it's not looking nice, we have the huge logo. We have the icon, the search icon. And then we have the input box. And then we have the microphone right here. So now is to make it as beautiful as this guy is looking right here. So how do we do that? Like I told you before, I like doing it in real time. So the first thing I want to reduce is this giant huge logo here. So I'm going to right click on it. I'm going to click inspect, right? And then I'm going to reduce the width. But don't forget that the image here is inside a div that has an ID of logo. And like I told you, if you want to talk to a specific image or a specific element, you can simply call it by its father's name. So I'm going to address this image by this father's name called logo, right? So I'm going to click on the plus sign. It's giving me the image tag, but that's not what I need. I need it to have the ID logo so that I can talk to the image inside the logo, not just the image everywhere else. Don't forget that this mic is an image, then this avatar is an image. So if I just talk to only IMG, all my images will be affected at the same time, and that's not what I want. So I will narrow it down by calling the image by its father's name, right? Then I'll click inside here, give it a width of like 100 pixel. 100 pixel is too small, so I'm going to bump it up a bit. Let's say about this size. Let me just spy on. Okay, it's about this size. So let's just visually look at it and see what size that should be. So I think it's somewhere around here, maybe around 200 or 220. So that's the size of our huge logo. Then the next thing we want to do is that we want to centralize everything. So let me copy this, my style first, go to the top of my page and paste it. I'm going to go to the top of my page and paste it, right? Then I'm going to go back and then want to centralize everything right here. So what I'm going to do to centralize everything is this. I'm going to go to my content. Don't forget that the content is the div that is housing the logo, the image, the microphone, and everything we have so far. So I'm going to go to the content. I'm going to click on the plus sign so that I can trigger for me the content selector. I'll click in between the curly braces, right? I will give it a maximum width of about, say, 60%, right? Then I will add margin 0 auto, right? And everything should be at the center. Then I will add test align center, and everything should be at the center. So that's how I align my stuff to the center. So I'm going to copy all of this and paste it in my code. Paste it in my code, right? So now we have everything at the center. We're getting close, right? We're getting close. We're getting close. Let's see our design. Oh, this thing is a bit bigger. If you can see, it shrinks a bit. So I think we need to increase our own. Our own is a bit smaller than theirs. So I'm just going to increase mine by, say, for example, let me just check that out now. Okay, their own now is a bit smaller. So I'm going to reduce it by 10 pixel, and it should be the exact match now. It's not still the exact match, but it's close anyway. So let's move on. So the next thing I want to do is to style this input box and all these guys beside it. So the first thing I want to do is that I want to put a border around. So see this nice little soft border that is circular and housing everything. So that's what I'm going to do next. I'm going to mouse over my div. Look at this div. This is the div right here. So I need to give it some sort of, what's it called now? I need to give it some sort of name so that I can talk to it. So I'm going to go to my code and then look at the div that is housing both the search, the input, and the image. So I'll give it an ID and call it search box. I'll call it search box, right? And then I refresh now, I can get my search box right here. So I have my search box. Now let me style the search box. Click on the plus sign to trigger the search box for the selector. I'll click in here and I can give it a border of 1 pixel, 1px solid, and then like a gray color, yes, something like that. Then the next thing you want to do is border radius, to give it a radius like what Google had, about 10 pixel, 20, 30, something around that is what we saw. I'm going to copy these two first. I'm going to copy these two. It also have a very soft, shadow behind or below it. So I'm going to click right here and give it a box shadow of about 0 pixel, 0 pixel, 10, and then let me give it a RGBA 10, 0.5 pixel, or let's say 10 also. So I'm going to reduce this minus 10 to 0. I'm going to drop it very low, and I'm going to drop this below, and I'm going to now reduce this a little just below it. Let me drop it a bit more and then drop this, something like that. So you can see the drop shadow right below it. So I'm going to copy the whole of my search box, then I'm going to paste it in my styling. We're getting close. That's our search box. So the next thing we want to do is to now arrange the elements inside this huge stuff, right? So I'm going to reduce this width first. The microphone is huge and it's very big. That's why it's pushing everything away from the body of the of our search box. So I'm going to go to the microphone. But for this microphone, let me give it a name so that I can talk to it directly. This microphone, I'm going to give it an ID of mic. I'm going to call it mic so that I can talk to it. So I'm going to refresh so that it can come up. So we have our microphone now showing as mic. Then I'm going to click the plus sign. It's now showing up. I'm going to give it a width of about 100 px, which is big. And I'm going to reduce it, to about the size I should be. I think it's about that size. Yes, about that size. So the next thing we want to do is to, okay, I think I can even do this the other way around. But let's oh man. So what I'm going to do is I want to switch something over. So I would rather prefer to probably make use of this input box, give it the curved edge, and then push this microphone inside and push the search box inside, as against using this search box outside for this whole, I think it's too wide. So I'm going to just concentrate using this search box itself because that's where you can type anyway. So I'm going to use the search box and then pushing the microphone on the right and pushing the search box on the left. Right, let's do that together. So that means I'm going to quickly do something here. I'm going to remove the styling from my search box. And then what I'm going to do is that this search box that is right here, pay attention for those who are new to this so that you don't get lost at this point. So I want to switch over my search box from the div to the input, right? So I'm going to move this, my ID that was formerly on the div. I'm going to now add it to the input box. Why? Because I want those styling that I just applied here. I want the border radius, the box shadow. I want it to affect the input box. So see what happens when I do that. This line is going to disappear and it's going to affect this one. So let me refresh so you see that. All right, so that's it. So let me go back here. Search box. Where's my search box? Something is missing. What is missing? Input type, input ID, search box is still there. Okay, it's a div. There is a div in front. Sorry. So because there's a div in front, and that's not a div, that's an input box. So it's not affecting it. It's not applied because this says that it's a div that has an ID of search box. But what I just switched over now is an input that has an ID of search box. So I'm going to just remove this div so that it can just search for any guy with the search box ID. So I'm going to refresh now, and then we should get our curve. All right, so we can see it. So this is what I want. So what I can do now is to, reduce the width of this, my guy here, the microphone. Click on the plus sign, reduce the width about 20 px, which is what we want, about this size. Then I'm going to do a position absolute. So don't forget that I'm trying to catch up with time. That's why I'm not explaining every bit of CSS style I'm using, but follow me closely, right? For those who are new to this, all these different properties I'm using, they are actually CSS properties, right? And you should probably know what they stand for. So far, we have seen width, you have seen color, you have seen background, you have seen padding, you have seen, what else have you seen now? Now you are seeing positions. Position is used to position stuff on the screen. So there are different values that a position can have. It can have an absolute value, it can have fixed, it can have relative. Let me just show you. These are all the possible values that this guy can have, right? But right now I'm using absolute because I want to position my microphone inside this box. I want to position it inside this box. So I'm going to do that. So I'm going to say top is about 10. Um, my left, okay, let me do my left first. I'll come back to the top because I need the top to move though. But my left is about, okay, so what's happening now is that because I have used position absolute, right? But the parent div, the parent that the image is inside, it does not, that guy does not have any positioning, right? That guy does not have any positioning. So what I'm going to do is that I will give this div a positioning of relative. So let me quickly do that. I hope this is not going to lose someone. So I'm going to come here into my div and I'm going to add a style here that has a positioning of relative, right? Relative. So I've just introduced something else again that is new. So now I'm using inline style. So far, we've been using the on-page styling or the internal styling where we define the style tag open and close right here, right? That's what we've been used to so far. But now I've just introduced another type of styling, which is called inline styling. So you can actually just write your style equals, and then you write the style inside here. So why I'm doing this is that when I apply positioning to any element, if that positioning I'm applying is absolute, and there is no parent with a positioning of relative, the what's it called now? The movement of that element will be in relation to the topmost left of the screen. So you can see what's happening. I have just told my microphone that the position is 0, 0, top is 0, left is 0, position is absolute. Then the guy jumped all the way to the 0, 0, x axis 0, y axis 0. He jumps to that location. Why? Because there is no parent that is telling it where it should kind of measure from, right? So what I've done is that I've added an inline styling and told it that this is your parent, and your parent is what you should, use in judging your jump. So now I've added that position relative to the div parent and then absolute to the image. When I refresh this now, the guy will jump back to this location. So now I can style my stuff correctly. So I'm going to go back again. I'm going to go back again to the microphone, and then I'm going to position it absolutely again. This time, what am I adding that to? Oh, content. Sorry, this is not content. I want to add it to my mic, not content. So I'm going to position absolutely to the mic. I'm going to give the width to be 20 px. And I'm going to move it on the left axis by, say, for example, let me do right instead. Okay, I'll have to move that guy to be that wide. Yeah, so I need to increase this input box so that it's as wide as the div that is housing it. So let me quickly do that. My search box, I will give it a width of 100% so that it will fill its parent. So let me do that. All right, 100%. So now I can position this guy absolutely. So I'm going to inspect again my microphone. Then I'm going to give it a position of absolute. I'm going to give it a width of 20 px. Then I'm going to move it to the left, right instead. Let me do right instead. Right of about, just move it a bit right here. And then I'm going to reduce the width further a bit so that it can stay inside, right inside our microphone. And then I'm going to move it to the top, about 0. And I move it down a bit, and then it sits right in there. Okay, so I'm going to copy this now, switch to our styling, and then drop it right here. I'm sure this is going to, kind of affect the understanding of some people, but I believe that you should try to follow, right? Just still stick with me. All right, so this is where we are now. So the next thing we want to do is I want to move the search box also right here. So I'm going to use the same position absolute. So I'm going to do, this one does not have a name. So let me quickly give it a name so that I can talk to it directly. So I'm going to come here, give it an ID of search icon. I'm going to refresh, right? I'm going to refresh. Then I have an ID of search icon. I'm going to click my plus sign and position it absolutely to the left. And then it's going to stay right there at the edge. Reduce the width to about 20 px also. Let's see. No, not the width now. I need to reduce the font size because it's an icon. It's not an image. If it's an image, I would have used width. But if it's an icon, you know, I will use font size. So I can drop the font size, then I can drop the top by 0. Let's move it down a bit, and then we have that right there. Even the color can change to something like a very light color. All right, so that's it. That's the color. I think that's too light, so I'm going to just make it a bit thicker. All right, so that's it. So I'm going to copy this search icon. Oh, something has shifted on the other side of my microphone. What is happening right there? Okay, so that's 2 pixels. So I'm going to go back up here. I'm going to change this back to 2. Then I'll paste the new one I just copied, which is the search icon. All right, so that's it. We're moving forward. So if I refresh this, and so this is too wide. This box is very massive, so I'm going to just correct that a bit, maybe reduce it a bit. Reduce that a bit. Reduce that a bit. I don't know how wide that one of Google is. I think it's somewhere around here, right? Then I'm going to reduce. Okay, maybe I should just reduce. I think what I should reduce is not the search box, really. Let me leave this one as 100%. And then I will reduce the main container, the main content itself. Yeah, this is what I will reduce so that everything can move together. All right. So I'm going to reduce that to 40%. So the main content has been reduced to 40% to reduce the width of my search box. So now we just need to add some bit of height. I think their own is quite tall, right? So I'm going to add some bit of height to this. So I'm going to go to this, my guy, the search box, and then add some bit of height to it, like 20 pixel. 20 is not enough. 30. I think 30 should be fine. 35. Yeah, something around that, if I'm correct. Let me just check it again. Yeah, something around that, right? So we have height of 33. Then we can position these guys again, just to put them in their place. I will have used flex. So this is the place where flex shine more than positioning, right? So there's something called flex box, but because I've not taught you flex box, that's why I'm using this position, and it's very creepy just moving it up and down to align it. But assuming it was flex box, once I do justify content center or align item center, everything here will stick to the center irrespective of the movement I do for the height. But because you've not learned that, we will learn that probably in another, when we are doing Instagram landing page or any other landing page, right? So let me be a bit faster because of time. So I'm going to move this to 10 and then this one also to 10 so that they are right at the center of the screen. So let me do that. So we have this to be at 10, 8, and this guy is at 10. And then the next thing we've added is that we've added an height to the input box, which is the search box. We've dropped an height of 33. So that's what we have. So that's where we are. So if I refresh this now, I should get this, right? So we are close. The next thing we want to do, oh, I think this is actually very, very, very wide, wider than our own. So I might need to increase that a bit. Where's the content that I reduced? I think it's actually as wide as what I reduced before. Let me just check again. Yeah, it's as wide as that. It's as wide as that. It's as wide as that. It's actually as wide as that. So I think it was actually even very as wide as the 60. So let me return it back to 60. It's as wide as that. All right, so that's it. The next thing we want to do is to give a bit of space above and below, right? A bit of space above and below. And I told you that the spacing between a particular item, an element, and the next element is margin. The space between a content and the container is padding. The space between an element and another element next to it is margin. So I'm going to use margin to push this, to create this space right here, right? So I'm going to go to my, let's go to the design right here, and then I'll, on the same search box, I'm going to drop a margin on that. And then like I told you for padding, the first number is for the top and bottom, and the second number is for the left and right. In this case, we need spacing on top and bottom. So I'm going to increase it top and bottom, right? Let me add it to this guy instead, inside of the search box, so that everything can move. So I'm going to add my margin on this guy. Push it down. Yeah. So you can see my margin of about 20. I think 20 should be perfect. So I'm going to do that. All right. So I'm going to add that margin. So this one is to teach you inline styling, but I could actually, I could have given this div a name, say for example, an ID, and then start applying this styling up. But just to show you inline styling, that's why I'm doing this, right? So we have that. The last thing we want to do is the buttons. Okay, not the last thing. We have two buttons. We have all of these items. So let me quickly create that. So below here, we have a div that has two buttons. Two buttons. The first button is Google search. The second button is I'm feeling lucky. I'm feeling lucky, right? I'm feeling lucky. Those are the two buttons, and they have a gray background. They are slightly curved at the edge, and then they have this border that appears when you mouse over them. You know, they are, so let's just quickly do that. So I have these two buttons. I'm going to give them a class and call them BTNs or whatever you want to call them. You know, I can even use this button style itself to even style them. I don't need to give them any name. So, but I need to give this guy a name, the container that they're inside. So let's call this button box, just to be able to out these two guys together, right? So I'm going to go to my screen now and refresh on our design so that we get those two buttons. So you can see the two buttons, but they're not looking exactly like what we want. So I'm going to go to the design where we have been doing our real-time action right here. So we have the button. I'm going to click on my plus sign to trigger the button. Because we just have only two buttons in this design, that's why I'm not giving them any class name or ID or anything. And I want to control the two of them at the same time. So I'm going to be applying the style to the buttons directly. So I will give it a background of gray. Is that gray? Let me give it an HCCC. Border none. So there's no border or border 0. Then let me, this gray is actually too dark. So I'm going to lighten it up a bit, right? Then I'm going to introduce space around the text, which is padding. Left and right about 10, top and bottom about 6, left and right about 15, right? Then the font size, I think it's too big. I'm going to just reduce about 14 px. Let me just reduce the bit, something like that. The color of the text, let me just check that out. Whether the color, yeah, the color is not so black, it's about gray or something. So I'm going to reduce the color also to something that light, something like a gray. I think that is too light, so I'm going to darken it a bit. You know, not too dark, not too white, something like that. Yeah. Then the curved edge around the boxes, I'm going to give it border radius, right? Border radius, and then I'll give it about 6. 6 is too much. About 4. 4 is actually too much. About 3. Yeah, 3 is just perfect. So I'm going to copy all of this style, which is, you know, done perfectly, and then come up here and then drop it right here. Nobody's asking any question out of the people that, out of the 16, 18 people that are online. I don't know why. It's like everybody is following me, bumper to bumper. So the next thing we want to do is that we want, you know, that when we mouse over this guy, you can see what happens when you mouse over. When you mouse over, there is this border that appears, right? And I think I showed you that with this over effect when you underline here. So the same principle applies. When you mouse over the buttons, there should be a border applied. So I'm going to do that. So I'm going to apply an over effect with a pseudo class for button. So when we mouse over the buttons, we want a border to apply. Where is the border? I'll just copy the border here. We want the border to be like 1 One, just one, right? So I'm going to refresh that and let's see what happens. So when I mouse over, where is it? Okay. Oh, I'm gonna have to use a JavaScript for this. I remember that this over effect only works for an A attribute, so I can't use it for a button really. So I might need to use a JavaScript for that effect on JavaScript. So that might not be able to work in CSS. All right. So the next thing I want to do quickly is this guy is down here. So I'll just copy this text so I will not waste our time of typing. I'll come to my code. I'll create that section. It's another container. It's also a div. I told you it's a ULLI because it's a list, right? So I'm just going to paste everything. Then I will say the Google, let me check something. Google offered in is one thing. Actually, you can just even make it one liner, really. You don't have to make it ULLIs, but I would prefer it's ULLI so you can space it equally, you can style it equally and all of that. So I prefer it to be ULLI. So it's easy to style. So I'll just out all of them, in their different boxes. This come down, this one come down, then this one, then come down, then this one. Are you guys still with me? I need comments in the comment box, please. Tell me you are with me. I need you guys. I need you guys to tell me you are with me so that I'm not feeling like I'm alone here. All right, so I've housed all these ULLIs inside several, so that I can style them easily. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch over, go to our preview page, and then refresh, and then I will get something like this. So see what I have. So I have this Google offered in Hausa, Igbo. I think I copied something. Okay, the guy he could not interpret the special characters on all this stuff. So I'm going to, remove that so that we can see well. All the way. Oh, good, great, 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 great. Thank you for following me. Thank you for telling me you're there. All right, so we are close to the end of this class. So Google offered in Hausa. Let me see. Let me just check what their own looks like. So it's on a straight line. It's blue color, and all of that. So let's quickly do that. So what I'm going to do is inspect again. Then I have all of these guys here. So what I'm going to, then I think something is missing. Nigerian Pidgin is one. Ede Yoruba is one thing. Nigerian Pidgin is one thing. So it's just 4 of them, not 6. So Ede Yoruba is actually just 1. They are together. Nigerian Pidgin is also 1. They are together. All right, great. So I'm going to refresh again so that we get that. So now we have it. So now what I want to do is to reduce the font size a bit, right? So I'm going to give the UL a name so that I'll be able to talk to it directly. I'm going to give it, say, languages. I'll just call it lang. I'll refresh so that I can control that particular section with the ID. So this is lang now. So I'm going to click on the plus sign. The first thing I want to do is to tell it to have, I think it's lang li. I want to correct actually. So lang li, which is these guys. I want to reduce their font size, right? To about 12, 14. Yes, something around that. Yes. Then that's it. I think that's it for that. The next thing I want to do is to give I think because those guys are links, all these guys are links, that's why they are blue naturally. So I don't need to bother about the color. Once they are links, then they will become blue. So let me just drop the styling I copied above for the lang font size. So I'll just quickly add links to all of this. I'll copy this, right? Paste it in the Hausa, Igbo, Yoruba. Then I'll copy this one. I'll paste it right here, paste it right here, paste it right here. And then when I refresh my work, I should get them to be blue. What happened? Only one became blue. What happened to our stuff? Oh, these things are closing. As I was pasting them, they were closing by themselves. All right. So let me check that again. All right. So they are all blue now. And then I can remove the underline again by just telling it that list style type is none. Text decoration rather. So I'm going to say the li, what's it called now? Is the A's now. I'll click on the plus sign. I'll click on the plus sign, and then I'm talking to the A. inside the lang, the A is inside the li inside the lang. I'm telling them that their text decoration should be none. All right, so that's it. That's it. That's it. So I'm going to paste that right up here. And then we're done. We're almost done with that. So that's it now. So the last thing we want to do, any other thing that we are missing on these guys, I think they are not so far apart like that. So I might need to reduce the distance. But let's leave that because of time. So the last thing we want to do is just this footer quickly. Let's just do this footer quickly and then everybody can go to bed. So the footer section, I might need to remove this, how do I do this? I need to remove this so I can see clearly. Let me just pull it out. Oh, it's pulling out in another screen. I don't want that to happen. I don't want that to happen. So what do I do? 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 I need to take it back. Okay, let me add it to the, let me see, drop it at the footer, but I'll just try to reduce it a bit so that we can see the footer. So the last thing we want to do is the footer. So let me just quickly write out the HTML structure. We have Nigeria here, which is just filling in an entire row. That's simple, straightforward. We have the carbon guy here. We have these guys and we have these guys. So because of time, I will just copy the text so that I will not have to type all over again. Just copy this text. Can you copy for me? Copy, 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 copy this one. Go back to my code. Where's my code? All right. So I'm going to come right here. And then I will paste it somewhere here. Okay, wait. I think I need to exit this div because this div is the content div. This is a content div. So I need to create my footer div now. I need to create a div for footer separately so I can start because there's a gray background right there. So to achieve that gray background, I need a separate div that is different from the content div. So I can paste all of the write-ups I have copied, and then I can, I told you anytime you are doing any list like this, it's always ULLIs, always use that. So, but before we got to that one, there is a div just above that, let me call it footer top, that is housing the Nigeria, right? That one is housing Nigeria. So I'll just use a paragraph there and call it Nigeria. That's the first section. Then it's another div down below, which I will call the footer bottom, right? And inside there, that's where we have all of these guys. But inside there, really, I have three sections. Let me show you. We have this left about advertising business, how to search. Then we have this carbon neutral since 2017, and I have this privacy terms and settings. So there are three different boxes. This one, this one, this one. So I'm going to create that quickly. So inside this footer bottom, there are three parts to it. So I'm going to call it the left, right, the middle, let's call it the middle section, and then the right section in the footer bottom. The right section, can you close properly? All right, so we have these three sections, and in the left, that's where we have these guys, right? In the left, that's where we have these guys. So these guys are actually ULLIs. So I'm going to just, paste them in my LIs, right? And then duplicate this. I need three more, and I'll just copy this, replace this one, copy this one, replace this one, copy this one, replace this one, and I have my first item or my left section ready. So let me refresh my code, and then we should have the left side. So you can see it. You can see the left side already available. So the next thing is the central guy here, carbon neutral with an image icon behind it. So I'm going to do that now. That's the middle section. The middle section has an image that is pointing to a logo, and then we have a small text beside it saying carbon neutral since 2017, which is actually a link because it was showing like a link just now. All right, so that's that. Then the last section is these guys at the right hand side. So I'm going to copy them also. Can you copy for me, please? Let me just type it. The guy is not copying very well. So I'll just copy. Let me copy this my ULLIs on the left, paste it here, and then I'll call it privacy terms, and then settings. Right? We have it. So if I refresh this now, I should have the left, right. Yes, so we have it. So the last thing is the icon here that will style everything and we're done. So if you remember that I have this icon here called carbon.png, that is the icon of that carbon. So I can include it right behind this guy. Images, then carbon.png. If you refresh the page now, you get the image right behind this guy. So the only thing we need to do is to probably give it a name and then style the. So okay, we can, let me teach you again what I taught before. I said not all the time you have to give a name. You can use the grandfather's name or the father's name. So this image is inside an ID called middle. So I'm going to just click on my plus sign and I'm going to say the image that is inside the middle, the width should be about 20 px or even smaller, right? So that's it. That's the image behind the image in the middle, right? So I'm going to scroll up. I'm going to paste that one over here. And then the last thing I want to do is just the background color. So if you notice that there is a background color, then let's reduce the width, the font size of all these texts in the footer. So I'm going to say all the LIs inside the footer, their font sizes should be about 12 px, about 12, something like that, right? Then I'm going to copy that. I'm going to come here and paste it right in my styling. Then the next thing I want to do is this. We want them to stay side by side. Don't forget, we want them to stay side by side. So there are 3 sections here. If you notice, left, middle, right, left, middle, right. They are all divs. They are all divs, but we want them to stay beside each other. So what I'm going to do is to give them width and make them display inline block, right? So I'm going to do that now. So I'm going to give this left, click this plus sign, and give this left a width display inline block first. Display inline block. Then I'm going to give the same thing. I'm going to apply the same thing for the middle and the right. So I'll just put a comma here. Add a comma here. Then I'm going to say the middle and then the right. All of them should be display inline block, right? Display inline block. So you can see them. Everything comes on a straight line. So that's it. This carbon neutral is still too big, so I'm going to come back to correct that. But let me just paste what I've copied so far. For all 3 should be display inline block. Then the last thing is this carbon neutral in the middle should be smaller a bit. So I'm going to have to reduce that. So that's the A inside the middle is what I am reducing the font size to 12 pixel. So they are all small now. And then that's it. So the last thing is the background color and we're done. We're done. So the background color now, there is a section called, don't forget there's a section called the footer top that is housing the Nigeria, and there's a footer bottom that is housing the other one. So let's just style those 2. So the one that is the footer top that is housing Nigeria, I can click on the plus sign and give it a background of gray. So I think the gray is something lighter than that. So I'm going to just, something around that. Then maybe a padding from the left a bit. So I'm going to just increase the padding on the left a bit, and then copy this. And then there is a border on the bottom. If you notice something here, there is this line right here. There's a line at the bottom here that separates the 2 sections. So I'm going to have that using border bottom. Border, where is it? Where's our footer top? Where are you running to? Where is it? Okay, there's it. So border bottom, 1 pixel, solid, gray color. I'll probably just use something lighter again. You can see it, yeah? So I'll copy all of this and then go to my code and paste it right at the top. And then that's it. So this same background color here applies to the 2 of them. So I will just copy the first part because I'm using that same background color for the bottom. So I will change this to footer bottom. And if I check now, I should have the same color on both top and bottom. Beautiful. So there is this space on the left and on the right. I don't understand where it's coming from. So I'm going to look for it. I think it's on the body. There is a padding around the body added by the browser by itself. So I'm going to do something on the body. I'll click on the plus sign, my body tag. I will add a padding of 0 and a margin of 0. All right, beautiful. So you can see the space is gone. So sometimes your browser normally adds extra spacing that you don't want around your work. So you want to remove it. So that's for the body. So that's it. So let's see. Let's see what we are now. So I'm going to remove this guy. And then, okay, so there's something missing now, the spacing around this guy. So I'm going to push this whole footer to the bottom because it needs to sit at the bottom. So we are there, but we just need this to sit. You can see it needs to sit at the bottom. So I'm going to reduce. The reason why this one is looking like this is because there is, I increased my screen size. Actually, it's like this. So this is the 100% size. This is the way it's supposed to be. So I'm going to do same here. I'm going to reduce my screen size to 110. So I'm going to push this to the bottom. So how do we do that? I will use position absolute again. So I will inspect, then I will push everything to the bottom. That's the footer. The footer should sit at the bottom. So I'm going to style the footer by itself and say position is absolute, and then the width is 100%, and then your top or bottom is 0. So once I've done that, text align center. No, not center. I'm going to copy this and I'll paste this in my code. And then if I go back to my screen and then I remove this, it should sit at the bottom. So can we see it now? Then there is a bit of spacing here that should happen for this content in the middle. It needs to come down a bit. So I'm going to bring up my inspector again, go to my content section, and then just add some bit of margin top and bottom. So I'm going to increase the margin top and bottom. Yeah, so it comes down a bit. So that is 60 on the top and on the bottom. So I'm going to add that to my content in my code. Content, where are you? Content, where are you? All right, so I'm going to drop this to 60 pixel, and then we are done, hopefully. Yes. So this is our Google page. This is our work. It's our Google page. This is our work. Something that is missing is just small, tiny things like reducing the font size of these guys. Our own is still very big. You can reduce the font size. You know how to do that. These guys are not aligned to the center. You can do that also by aligning everything to the center. Let me quickly do that. You can go to your footer. Where is it now? Footer bottom, and then align this to the center. You can see that, right? So we're done. We are done. I don't want to keep you more than 1.5 hours. I think we have spent exactly one, right? Is that 1.5 hours? So I think we're done. So I don't want to keep you more than this time that we spent already. So footer bottom, where is that? Okay. So we're done. So guys, tell me if you are, if you had fun learning this, if you loved it, if you enjoyed it, and if you think this, you learned 1 or 2 things doing this. So this is it. We've come to the end of our Google page, and we've designed our Google page. You can type right here. Oh, I need to put a padding here so that you won't type on top of your search icon. So that needs to happen. My input box needs to have a padding on the left and on the right of about, yes, about 30, about 20 or 30. Yes, I need to add that so that your typing starts right after the search box. All right, so that's it. So guys, tell me if you have enjoyed this, if you loved it. And the assignment is that you do this all over and achieve the same thing before tomorrow night and push to the repo. Guys, that's the assignment. You have to do it. You have to do it. So we have come to the end of our class. This is our Google search page. This is the original version. Where is it? This is the original version. This is our version. This is the original version. This is our version. A bit of cleanup will make it look exactly like I said. Reduce the font size right here. Reduce the font size. Put some padding on the top right here, and then you can do some bit of more, making it more exact. Maybe there's a padding right up here. You can do that. All of that. So that's it. So guys, not to keep you beyond 1.5 hours, I'm going to bring this to a close. So practice on your own. Try to practice. Watch this video again. Practice. You learn coding by coding and not by watching. So tomorrow evening, if you can produce this, I will really appreciate it. Push to your repo and let's have fun tomorrow night with Instagram landing page, right? Thank you very much, guys. We'll see you again tomorrow night. God bless you.